Welcome to macOS Genius on the YouTube channel. Same as Sifu Technology Services, new branding, but same company. So today we're going to go over to the process of part 2 from part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, check part 1 for Apple School Manager, device enrollment. And part 2 here was going to be through Jamp, where we are going to make sure that we can create an automatic device enrollment profile so that the Macs can see the profile and start its own configuration, and we can have it set up where it does either zero touch, where you don't do nothing and it does it all for you 100%, or you can do it where you can select specific options to appear and then allow only this or that and create an admin account so that you don't have to do that later. So for an example, let's bring Jamp over. Here it is. So again, this is Jamp School. It depending on your organization, your business, it might be Jamp Pro or Jamp Now. And so where you want to go to is Profiles here. You want to select an automatic device enrollment. Let's go ahead and maximize this screen. So here, as you can see on the left-hand side, this is my school organization. I have all iOSs there. What I want to do here is under macOS, is create a macOS. So under a macOS profile, you can go ahead and give it whatever name you feel is appropriate. So I normally give it the acronym of the organization, the name of the OS, and then I normally give like a year, or you can give a date so that you know that from this point forward, this is what you created and it works. Support and department number for phone is completely optional. I can show you that once at the end of the video where it will be located. This is not needed if you are running the organization or the school institution. Under set device name, that is set as a variable. So here, reach which variables you can use. So if I hit this, it's going to fail. So it's a link issue that they have with Jamp. But here is the variables. Let me switch that over here. These are the payload variables for Jamp, and you can follow any of these. So you can get the device name, you can get the first name, last name, whatever, when person's using this computer. And if you just wanted the serial number, you can just do the serial number so it appears in Jamp. So let's get rid of this and let's go back here. So here are your options. So your options are allow removal of the Nmdm server. I do not want this option enabled just because this option allows an individual user who's using that computer either in your organization or your school, or if the device was stolen, they can log into the computer, bypass the password if necessary, and then they can physically remove this profile from their system preferences. And if that's done, then they can kind of do whatever they want with the computer and they can sell it, whatever, etc. So I don't want to do that. So next one is wait for the configuration to be applied before continuing the setup assistant. So the configuration profile that we are creating right now, this will be downloaded, installed once that Mac is connected to a internet connection, either wireless or Ethernet. And once that's done, it will send the configuration profile down, lock it down, do all its custom settings or whatever the case may be, and then at that time it'll go to the setup assistant. So maybe privacy will pop up, touch ID, so forth, and I'll get to that in a moment. So here we have the zero touch setup. So but this requires Ethernet. If it's Ethernet connection, it will skip all setup panes one by one and choose the most restricted options by default. So all this stuff down here that you can see with my cursor, it will skip all these options. And you know, these are normally the options that you see on a new MacBook. You're setting it up out of the box, it's brand new, location service, touch ID, restore, it does all that. You can hit this enable 0 and it'll completely skip all that. Now the caveat is this will only work if it is connected via Ethernet. If it's not connected to Ethernet, you will get all these options appear automatically. So that's the only caveat. So then next step is, you can do this one if you want, but you can't do this. So like once I enable this, all those options disappear. If I uncheck it, now those options appear. So you can only do one or the other. Even though one is requiring Ethernet, and the other one is requiring Wi-Fi still. So we're going to leave it as it is. I tested the enable zero touch, and I mean literally I have it plugged through Ethernet, profile, password, I mean everything. It does everything. It even creates the user accounts and so forth. But we're not going to use that right now. We are going to go through the setup process of all these options and select certain ones that I want and some that I don't. So the ones I don't want, well, I'll be check marking. But now if I have this disabled, still the user in the system preferences can still enable the Touch ID, can still enable restore, screen time, Apple ID, Apple Pay. I can leave terms and conditions. I don't have to. So like the only ones I really want is location services and privacy. We'll leave diagnostic. Oops. We'll leave diagnostics on. File vault I want off. Registration off. This is all iCloud, Apple. Yeah, you can, because I've disabled Apple ID, so we're going to disable the store document desktop in iCloud, iCloud Analytics. But again, when they log in, they can enable these things if they wanted to. So choose your look. Choose your look is basically the light and dark mode. So we can change that. True tone, it's being depreciated. That didn't really last that long. But yeah, you can disable that just to get it out of the way. Accessibility, we're going to leave open just in case an individual has disabilities and they want that to be enabled. Unlock your Mac with your Apple Watch. I would like to leave this on, but I can't, because if I leave it on, the Apple ID is related to unlocking with the Apple Watch. So if I have it turned off here, it's going to be turned off here. So now here, setup assistant. Here it says prompt user to create an account. So basically what's going to happen here, well, this is check mark, and it's going through the MDM, through the Ethernet or through the Wi-Fi. What it's going to do, it's going to pop, once it goes through, skip all these like diagnostics, accessibility, it's going to pop up a screen. Hey, create your administrator account. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So this is what it is. Now where it says full name and account name, right here, I can, under full name and account name, I can type in specific what that account will be called, but the password will be up to that individual, who that technician is, or it could be a teacher, it could be a parent, it could be a kid. Oh, I want to put my own password, you know. And so you want to do it the right way, you want to lock it down. So I'm going to uncheck this option. I am going to check the option right here where under administrator, where it says create a macOS, manage macOS account. So when you hit that, now I want to create the account. So it's going to be, so then once you create the user accounts, you could put in the password here. I'm not going to put in my password, just because when I scroll up or down, you're going to see the password appear. So we're not going to do that. And under here where it says show manage administrators and account and users, normally when you log into a Mac and you go to system preferences, you have an icon called users. Under users, it'll show all the user accounts for that computer. So you can either show it, or you can uncheck the box, and unchecking the box will make the account hidden. Though at the login, you still see the prompt of the tech login. So this BDS tech, you'll see a bubble of that login, and then you see another bubble later on that you create for the user account for that staff or that person. So right now we're going to leave that enabled. Now you want to also make sure that you select on make the local administrator account MDM enabled. It's kind of weird why this is here, but some people want to do the MDM enabled where they do it just through Jamp, but sometimes through Jamp does not have all the options and features, and you want to be super custom. So you'll create an OS profile, which is completely different from an MDM and has pretty much the same features, except it has more granular features, and I can show you that in another video. And but I want to keep this enabled, and I'm probably going to use an Apple profile for that Mac to lock down certain things, if any. So then from there, the last thing you have is Rosetta Install. So since we're deploying nowadays with Intel, some are Intel and some are M1, M1 Pro, M1 Ultra, M1 Max is out there. So Rosetta Sony want to be installed, but as you can see, if you select it, it says you must install a scripting module to automatically install Rosetta Stone. It's fine. Rosetta Stone is very easy. Once you are logged into that M1 computer, quote unquote models, what you can do is just go to like Google Chrome or go to Dropbox, download a non-native macOS app from Apple. So you download it from a various website. Once you attempt to install it, you'll be prompted with Rosetta Install, and you'll say yes, continue, continue. It installs it, I mean, within seconds. It's very small. It's like under 1 megabyte to install the file. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. Let's scroll back up here. So we've gone through all that, and then we're going to hit save. Now you see where it says the value is required. There's going to require a password. So now you cannot save unless you put in the password. So I'm going to go ahead and put in password, and then we'll go to the next screen. So the password was saved, and now as you can see we're still in the same section, except now it's much more wide. So what we're going to do here is go to the onboarding, and then the onboarding you have agreements. You can select add agreement, and then there's a digital learning pledge. So it's just an informational sheet that pops up, and it says, hey, just so you know, this is for your school education, this is for your school needs, etc., etc. Please, you know, it's like a technology use policy, etc., etc. Be careful with this, it may cost, or etc. So you can go ahead and do that. Then once you select on macOS settings, this appears. So allow removal, we went through that. Prompt user to create an account type. We're not doing that because we're creating this specific account. Efi Configurations, not too many computers are using that, but this is what this is if you want to create a firmware boot, similar to like BitLocker for Windows, but it's like File Vault for Apple, but it's not enable File Vault. What it is basically at boot up on a Mac, it'll ask enter password. Then you enter some random password. So it's like double security just to get into the device. And then after that, then you may be prompted with a File Vault password. That's to encrypt your drive. And then after that, you may even have, not may, but you will have a user account that user will log in. So you'll have a double protection, if any, but we're not going to use that because not most, but a lot of our stuff for my institution is all cloud-based and it's already encrypted. So recovery lock. Recovery lock is when you boot up a computer, a Mac computer, old or new, before the M1s and after the M1s. Before the M1s, you would have to press Command Option R if you want to go into recovery mode. But if you enable this and that this MDM has been deployed to that Mac, what happens is that Mac, you can't do internet recovery because now you blocked it out. It's kind of like it's like a BIOS password, but it's BIOS set. So when you're booting up, you'll never get to do that. As well, this also applies to all users, even administrators. So if you do it for M1 products with Apple, their process is a little different. It's not Command Option R anymore. What it is when you power up the computer, you press the power button and you hold the power button for a few more seconds after you hear the chime, and then you'll see a whole different menu list and so forth. You won't be able to see that. That's all be blocked out as well. So I'm not going to do that because then it's going to cause me more pain just to troubleshoot, try to bypass it just to get in to image it or do whatever I need to do. Okay, enable zero touch setup. We already talked about that. We're going to do all the individual settings, options to be up here, and Rosetta Install. We already spoke to that as well. So there were no changes here at all. So we're just going to go ahead and cancel this. Now it brings us back to BDS macOS 2022. So this is configured administrator, so you can click it again. So it's all done, it's all ready to go. So what we need to do here, so now getting back into the macOS 2022, you need to make sure under General, there's going to be additional options down below, and these are the options. So now you have one available, automatically assign perpetual license to any device, automated device enrollment. So this is your DEP. Your DEP is already through the school manager or through the business.apple.com site. So we're not going to enable that because we're not doing perpetual licenses. We're just doing a universal license, which will be released whenever in the future for another device to be used in the future as well. So await final configuration, wait for the configuration to be applied before continuing the setup. Yes, so I want the automated device enrollment profile to be deployed, installed, configured before I go through these setup options. As you can see, the items that are checkmarked are the ones that are going to be skipping. So then at the very bottom it says make this default profile for the macOS devices. Yes, I want to enable this because now it's going to do the MDM server. So basically, remember how earlier I mentioned where we were under devices and we went automated device, and what that would do, this will deploy a license and make that profile assign into profile. So now it has a profile. So now we go ahead and hit save. And then you can go back to on the left hand side, automated device, and now you're going to see instead of configure administrator, now you're going to see a couple other options. So you see Baker MDM server. So that's great. So then what you want to do here. All right, so that ends our video here for the creating a profile for the device enrollment for specific Macs, and it's set to go. It says 0 devices at this time. In our next video, we're going to go ahead and create a wireless profile so it can be deployed to that device, and that's the only profile that's needed for at this present time. And then we're going to go to add a device to the group and then have it all linked together. Device enrollment to creating the profile. Then once we're done with here, we're going to have to watch part 3 of the video, and part 3 of the video is going to be creating a device group for Macs, and it's also going to be creating an automated profile to deploy the configuration, wireless configuration on those specific Macs so they're all ready to go, which originally I did in the prior year in the school institution is I just grabbed the flash drive and I went to each individual Mac, which was about 90 Macs. I found a simpler way. I put it on my website so you can download it and then do it that way, but that still caused time and availability with the staff member. So now it's just going to be through an MDM solution, so I can just deploy it and do it from there. So thanks for watching the video. Please watch our part 3 on continuing of the device enrollment through the Mac. Thank you.